Here I am, live with Andy Dagnall from Kingsbridge on the very first, for me anyway, RecWired Live Show. If I get nervous at all, I'm really sorry. The technology appears to be working. It could just be me and you, Andy, talking in a room and no one else will ever see this. But if any of the guys from RecWired could just go into the chat and just let me know we're okay, that would be really appreciated. So welcome, Andy Dagnall from Kingsbridge. Andy, do you want to tell us what you do and what Kingsbridge do?
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Good to be here. Yeah, as Andy says, I'm Andy Dagnall, Head of Business Development at Kingsbridge. Kingsbridge are a niche insurance broker who specialise in contractor insurance and also staffing agency and recruitment insurance as well. So anything contractor compliance and insurance in the recruitment world.
Brilliant. Okay, so that's the interesting stuff over with. And, you know, to those who don't know, Andy does make insurance interesting. So,
that's right.
So the reason we got you on the show today is the great thing is where you insure lots and lots of contractors in the UK. I think you're probably the largest insurer of contractors in the UK. You get some great data. And actually, as recruiters, what's really powerful is understanding what markets are hot, what are not. And I think we've seen a massive sort of change in the UK market because of R35. So do you just want to run through the data you collect and the trends you've seen recently?
Yeah, so I got into a habit of doing this sort of weekly just to see what markets were performing well, what markets were performing sort of poorly. And each week you saw a change in those industries. And there's a reason why it went up and down. It could have been a large project went live with one of our partners and stuff like that. But more recently, it's been affected quite a lot by IR35, and I'd left it a while just to sort of collect this data. And I thought we'd look at 3 months leading up to the change in IR35 legislation, and then the 3 months following April the 6th. So what I did was I pulled all the verticals that we insured and just got an understanding of the ups and downs that those verticals had been through the 3 months leading up to April, and then up to now the 3 months into the end of July. So I'll just quickly run through what we found. Yeah. I did post it on LinkedIn, but I'll just recap that. So the banking and finance industry, I think, probably no surprise, that had an 18% decrease in the 3 months after April the 6th, compared to the 3 months leading up to April the 6th, 21. Like I said, probably no surprise there at all. But what we were looking at is the banking and finance industry and the contractors insured around their professional indemnity and public liability. The banking and finance industry went through the blanket ban process in April 2020. We saw a massive hit, and contractors have to go inside PAYE umbrella. And when IR35 got delayed, nobody sort of reverted back to how they were engaging contractors. So 18% probably sounds quite low in comparison to if you were to compare to sort of 2019. But like I say, it's kind of expected, but hopefully we see that sort of rise a little bit as those end clients in the banking finance will become a bit more confident in engaging contractors as we move forward.
Have you started to see that at all? I mean, there was a big sort of thing that, all the banks would lose all their top workers. And the thing about the banks is they all follow each other. So once one makes a cut, they all make a cut. Once one, goes into a language, they all go into, so have you started to see that, the first bank that goes and then they get the top talent because they're prepared to change their working practices? Have you started to see that?
No, unfortunately not in the banking and finance sector yet, no. Hopefully we will. And I sort of was speaking to a couple of people, and I think we'll probably see it more so in the challenger banks first before the big top banks. But those challenger banks probably will be the ones to kind of have that influence on the market first, I think. But no, to answer your question, not yet.
Okay. So what about the other sectors?
Well, I think probably the most exciting is your IT and media both increased 12%. which was really, really good to see. I looked at actual specific jobs as well, and the most insured contractor job was in the IT world as well. So as expected, you've got sort of agile businesses there that are open to change. You know, their market is forever changing, and IR35 is something that I've seen end clients sort of get their head around and be open to education, which obviously then filters down to more contractors being hired into these end clients in that sector. So both IT and media both performing better in May, June, July than the 3 months leading up to April, which was good.
Do you think there's education there? Do you think everyone understands it? Do you think recruitment agents understand it? Do you think clients understand it? Do you think contractors even understand it?
You put it politely. Not everybody understands it, and I think that Kingsbridge went through, or are still going through, a massive education piece around IR35 and the engagement of limited company contractors. To be honest with you, I think probably the recruitment sector is the industry that perhaps is the most educated, because it's affecting their revenue, it's affecting their day-to-day operation, and being educated and quite influential can be really, really positive. So, you know, things are changing. There's more case studies coming out day by day. There's been a big one recently, as we approach the end of last week, which I think will probably affect the market quite a lot. But yeah, I think, you know, day by day, people are becoming more used to IR35 and the processes that are involved.
In one sentence, without putting our whole audience to sleep, can you say why that's important in layman's terms?
Why? What's important?
That came out last week.
Why it's important? Those that are looking to engage limited company contractors, a lot of end hirers feel that the SES tool is the tool to use, and it's proven that there's flaws in the SES tool. The case study I'm talking about is something that's happened in the public sector with the Department of Work and Pensions, and it's been released that there's an 87.9 million tax bill for the DWP for using this SES tool incorrectly. So I think, sorry, it's not one sentence or layman's terms. It shows that there's a lack of support around the SES tool, and there's Kingsbridge provides an IR35 status tool, and there's others out there, and we try to educate that actually there's better, more supported tools in the market, and Kingsbridge is sort of leading that.
As a contractor myself, I agree with the SES tool, where I've sort of reviewed all of the tools out there, including yours. They just, the ones that have been built have been, the government tool, the SES tool, just feels very clunky in the sense that it's got 4 or 5 different answers, whereas I think the other tools I've seen are a lot more binary. It's a lot easier to understand. The explanations are better. And yeah, it's almost like people see that SES tool as a cast iron guarantee that you'll get outside. If you get your determination, here's my certificate to say it's fine.
Yeah.
Then HMRC come back and say, oh no, actually it's not fine. And we're sort of 4 years behind on what's happening with the public sector, but literally there are people now relying on that and thinking, yeah, we're absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And the real possibility in 3 or 4 years' time they're going to get massive tax bills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're seeing a lot of end clients, and through our model that comes through recruitment agencies and their staffing partners, they are looking at other options and realizing there's probably a more supported approach that just being left to this website and the result is the result, and sort of lump it or leave it. They're realizing that actually there's probably more supported options around there. And if you look at the Kingsbridge tool, if you get an indeterminate, a human will start interacting with everybody involved to sort of guide you through that, and with that, it just kind of makes a grey legislation or that grey area quite more easy to understand.
Yeah, because you think HMRC into another government department, it's wooden dollars. They're basically collecting government money to pay it back to the government. So,
yeah.
If they've gone to that level to do that, actually to collect money from the private sector companies, one imagines that's going to be where all their focus is going to be, collecting real money as opposed to wooden dollars.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll see anything for the next probably year and a half, 2 years, because it's just not worth their time. But as you approach that sort of year and a half, 2 years in, suddenly the tax liability becomes sort of a figure that's worthwhile going after, and that's where I expect we'll see a couple more cases in the public eye. The last thing I'd sort of recommend is dropping the ball, because it's gone quiet. We've got through this period of change over probably the last 6 months, if not more, actually, much more. But we've gone through this period. The processes are implemented. That you've got to assess status each contract role that's called in. But the last thing that we should be doing is dropping the ball and not being as hot as what we were perhaps 3 months ago. So I think it will, it's at the forefront of everybody's sort of processes, but it should stay there, I'd suggest.
Yeah, and to any agency owners out there, the liability is obviously with them now, and what they want to be in 2 or 3 years' time is looking to sell their business, and they've got this big, risk tax bomb, hanging over their head. So actually getting your compliance sorted and making sure that you have everything in order could be the difference between you getting your company away and not, potentially, as well. So doing it properly. And I think you're right. It feels like it's gone quiet. It feels like an AWR or maybe a GDPR, where everyone was expecting the world to end and it didn't. So you're right. I think there's going to be a lot of almost complacency. And if people are complacent around this, it's going to come and bite them in the arse in a couple of years' time or 3 years' time. Or, when someone's doing due diligence on their books and someone says, well, did you determine all these statuses? It's like, no, we probably didn't. And so ultimately, what's the statute of limitations? 7 years they could go back, one imagines, maybe even longer. It's a bit like, just because it's gone silent, people should be
stay on top of it. And I think most, if not, at least most would be on top of their processes by now. But doesn't mean that you can't change processes. I speak to people every day about their IR35 process, whether that's using the CES tool, whoever it may be, and there's still time to change that and make it even more slick. So
okay, well, that's IR35, and that's great. And I guess they can go on your website and look at the tool, and what if you want a demo, then either reach out to Andy or go onto the website, request a demo. You can request a demo of it through our website, RecWired, where you get a members discount. So go onto our site, recwired.com. And if you register through there, you'll get and are accepted as a member, you'll get a discount. So go and read about that there. So that's that piece. But the broader contract market. So we're what, 15 months into this pandemic now. So how are you feeling? And obviously Kingsbridge aren't going to tell us their sales figures, but how happy are the Kingsbridge board with the figures you're bringing in at the moment? How good's the market, Andy?
It's improved. It's not where it was, but to be honest, we've gone through quite a difficult time. Not Kingsbridge, but the general contracting market. You've had COVID, you've had IR35, you've had blanket bans from end clients, you've had people trying to adapt to working from home. And it's been tricky. It's definitely getting better. And just looking at the facts and the data that I pulled last week, it's 3% up in the last 3 months compared to the 3 months leading up to April.
Okay.
And it's definitely better than it was in 2020. There's still a lot of work to do, and as we come out of lockdown and people become more confident in the market, they become more confident in their IR35 process. I think contractors in general are thoroughly in demand. I still think there's a lot of work to be done. There's been a lot of these contractors are sort of forced into umbrella or PAYE routes that shouldn't be. Some definitely should be, but there's others that have been affected. And I think there's still a lot of work to be done to help the contracting market get back to where it should be. Every time you come out of a big economic crisis, I'd say, the contracting market is usually the people that we need, the skills that we need to get these projects back on track or projects completed. So you come out of COVID, people getting back to normal, but then you have end clients putting these blanket bans on it. So it's had a big effect. So it's not great, but it's not bad. And I think the increase in figures over the last 3 months is probably here to stay, and I think it should increase even more as we go into the final 6 months of the year.
So as well as insuring contractors, I mean, you guys will insure anything recruitment. So as well as insuring contractors, you also insure recruitment businesses, and you've got very specific policies for recruitment businesses. So what have you seen in terms of, we've seen the amount of people setting up has just gone crazy. So people coming out of COVID, realizing that they can actually work from home probably more effectively, dreading going back into the office, love their new lifestyle, and actually, have taken, some coming back, back off furlough, just decided they don't want to go back and do what they did. So what have you seen in terms of people signing up with their own recruitment businesses?
Well, like you say, it's a busy time, and I think away from limited company contractors, it's a really, really buoyant market. I think there's quite a lot of jobs out there, and I speak to people setting up daily, and it sounds like a brilliant time to be doing that. And these businesses setting up, they've had a few years or maybe a lot more than that experience in recruitment, and they've decided now's the time to go out alone, and they've done well. The around the insurance side of things for recruiters that are setting up, it's probably not great. The insurance market in general is hardened, and that's because of the last 18 months, 2 years that we've been through. So a lot of agencies will see probably their renewal quotes going up, which is pretty standard across the board over the last given the last 2 years, but it doesn't mean that you have to pay above and beyond what you should be. It just means that you should go out there and have a look at the cover that you're being offered and the price that you've been offered as well. We do offer actually a free sort of policy wording review for those that are looking to move from their current provider.
Okay.
But any members to RecWired will get that offering. We found that over the last year especially, there's probably some gaps in people's insurances. You've probably heard a number of different stories in the market around, I think, exemptions and things being left out. So for peace of mind, it's something that we'd offer, and that's just that policy wording review, just to double check there are no gaps in the cover.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, because I think people set up and, not everyone sort of grabs insurance or thinks about it, but you spend all this time and effort building a company, and then if you don't get the proper insurance, literally just taken away like that. And I think if you didn't need a pandemic to see that, then I don't think there's going to be another bigger wake up call in our lifetimes around that. So is it like your car insurance? You should check every year, basically. I
think it's good practice too. Yeah, absolutely.
Businesses change as well, so maybe the level of staff you bring on, maybe you get premises, all these different, I guess, things change, don't they? Yeah, absolutely. Things change, like we've seen over the last year and a bit. It's something that we're pretty hot on, and we'd be really keen to have those conversations. Our existing customer base, checking in sort of quarterly, 6 monthly, just to see how things are going business wise. It's worth doing. It's from our point of view, from a customer retention rate, but also from their point of view, just to double check they've got the right cover for their business activities that they're carrying out. Now, recruiters are a cheeky bunch, right? They will.
Yeah.
You're talking to a recruiter to challenge everything. To push. What's the best claim you've heard of? You've been doing insurance, recruiter insurance or contractor insurance. What's the best claim that's made the Christmas party at Kingsbridge?
I wouldn't like to say. I remember once we used to be in a WeWork building, and a recruitment agency we insured came and knocked on our door, who were also in the same building. And I think it must have been about 2:30 on a Friday afternoon. And he said, "You're Kingsbridge, right? Yeah, we're planning a big weekend. We're taking all the staff away, and we just want to know what we're insured for and what what our limitations are." So the advice was probably just keep it really simple and not drink too much. But can't imagine that happened.
Yeah, I've been on a few company trips where we've nearly had to use the insurance. So yeah, I can sort of resonate with that.
Yeah.
So look, in general, good things in the market. I think a year on, it's a much better time. I think for those who don't know Kingsbridge, they were our partners when I was at S3 for 10 years. They helped us build up. Effectively, you took over our compliance, which was something we didn't want to do. We had it in our contracts that you have to have certain levels of insurance because our customers said that, and it was a pain for us to sort of check it. And you guys came in and you did that for us, which is great. Helped us out.
Well, it's something that we sort of pride ourselves on, really, is that acting as a compliance partner to the recruitment sector. The last thing recruitment agents want to be concentrating on is chasing candidates for their insurance documents or making sure they've got the right levels of cover. So we've removed that headache, really. So for smaller agencies, I imagine it's the individual recruitment consultants that are in charge of the compliance. So straight away, you're saving them a lot of time in terms of chasing for those documents. For larger agencies, there's probably a compliance team sat within the business. Again, they still don't want to be chasing these documents and making sure that these contractors have got the right levels of cover, because there's quite a lot of volume to be doing that. So what we do is we can set up automation. So these policy documents are sent directly to the agency. The contractor then doesn't have to worry about downloading documents, saving it, and then forwarding it onto the right people. So it's removing the headache of what's not a very exciting job for anyone, really. But from our point of view, it's something that separates us from anyone in the industry, really. So we'd be happy to talk people through how we can do that and simplify that compliance process, which needs to happen.
So anyone who wants to do that and has got a reasonable bunch of UK contractors, they should contact you?
Yeah, contact me. Yeah, absolutely. And that's we've been talking quite a lot recently internally at Kingsbridge about this compliance activity. And like you say, in terms of recruitment agents, they want to get out there, they want to talk to people, they want to go and meet as many people as possible. And compliance doesn't have to be seen as a hurdle to get through, which I think often it is. Yeah. Chasing for documents, asking contractors to hold certain levels of insurance, it's like I say, it's not that exciting. But as soon as you flip that, compliance can be used as a sales tool. You can sign end clients' terms. You can separate yourself from your competitors by having a good compliance process, because straight away you're managing risk. And end clients are really, really hot on the risk that is sort of imposed to the whole recruitment supply chain. So once you flip it and start using compliance as a sales tool, it really gets people a little bit more excited. And if they can make more placements from having a good compliance process, then straight away, I think probably people are a little bit more interested in it. So I'd be happy to talk individuals through this, because I'm quite, into making sure that recruiters can use it as a way of billing as opposed to a hurdle. So
yeah, no, massively worked for us. It saved us a problem, and it meant that we were complying with our obligations to our clients, and also our contractors were insured, and it was massive for us. So yeah, we're really glad to have you on board as partners. I think we've had a great working relationship over a number of years, and you are pretty much you are the number one go-to in the recruitment industry. So long may it continue. So
thanks.
We'll wrap it up here then. And so if anyone wants to get hold of you, how do they do that, Andy?
Email andy.dagnall@kingsbridge.co.uk or connect with me on LinkedIn. And I'd be happy to help out, whether it's IR35, contractor compliance, or recruitment agency insurance as well.
Fantastic. All right. Thanks very much for being the guest, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Cheers.
Yeah.